You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here once again. And man, today we're going to take y'all all the way to Jacksonville, Florida. We're going to talk to a music artist. And guess what? When I saw this on my screen, I was like, man, this is going to be interesting. So it's Don Ugly, and I'm not even lying. It's donugly.com. And I know that's like right out the gate, like what? But hey, that's why we do interviews. We're going to get the backdrop story of all this, man. I just want to welcome Don to the show and say, man, what's up, man?
Hey, what's going on, Shamaya? Thanks for having me, man.
I mean, you talk about a shocking way to have an introductory to a show, but that's what I love about this platform. We get to have awesome people with just crazy stories, and you coming from Jacksonville, I mean, not just an artist, but a songwriter and all these great things that you're doing with your new music, and even your covers is super dope. I mean, you're posing in front of like sunflowers and stuff on your website, but that's what's cool about the show. We have all these awesome people. So man, tell the audience a little bit about you and the story behind your artist name.
Yeah, for sure, man. So that's my moniker. I go by Don Ugly, singer-songwriter, producer. My real name is KASH ERICKSON. And it's pretty much the Don Ugly thing came from, it's kind of like how you said it. It's the exact effect that I wanted to have. I wanted something just crazy enough for people to, like, when they see it, they're like, it's either A, what the heck is that? I'm going to check it out. Or B, what the heck is that? I'm going to have to check it out. But so yeah, the moniker itself, it kind of doesn't really there's not too much meaning into it, in all honesty. Like, it's just I just wanted to go by a moniker, in all honesty. All my favorite singer-songwriters do so, and I kind of want to follow suit. So, and
you started this while you were attending college, and not just any kind of college. You attended a college that I wanted to go to, but it was too expensive. It was Wholesale University, and that is a great place to go. I mean, I had some friends who went there, so you were definitely in good hands. What inspired you to pursue music and that creativity in college?
Well, it's something I always wanted to do, man. I've been playing guitar since I was 7 or 8. And then I've been writing poetry and stuff since I was like 12. And I always, kind of sang in between. I mean, I was in a little band when I was in 5th grade, like one that me and my friends started. We won the 5th grade talent show and stuff like that. There's musicians in my family too. So it's just always been something that I always just wanted to do. I could never really see myself doing anything else. So that's why I went to Wholesale, because I wanted to, I did it for audio engineering. So I wanted to learn the proper ways to go about, mixing and mastering my own audio and producing and all that stuff. And you're right, man, it's a great school. It's damn expensive though, man. I'm still paying for it, but it was definitely worth it. I mean, the connections that I made in there, and
they have top of line equipment. I mean, your state of the art is like heaven.
I was mixing on like SSLs, on Neve consoles, on Audience. I've Midas consoles. I've learned the ins and outs of studio gear, that analog studio gear too, which honestly a lot of people don't use more. With them, all my stuff's digital at the end of the day, but I use all emulation analog plugins. So it's like, if you're a hands-on person, that's like the place to go. It's just, but you're right, man, it is expensive. It's definitely an investment, but
yeah, I heard is audio heaven for all the creators out there. And I would have to say this, man, like the fact that you gain so much like knowledge and resources from what they provide. What was your favorite part as far as being there? Was it talking to the people in the industry? Or was it, kicking with the professors? What was your favorite part being at the school?
Beside, what I was learning firsthand, my favorite part was the energy. When you're there, everyone's so hungry to work and, collaborate. Even, like even like in majority of people, even including myself, when I was there, I was, I didn't really know as much as I know now, of course. But nonetheless, like, everyone's just trying to learn and just, do trial and error projects. Or there's sometimes where like people get together and, they don't even know really like what they want to do, but it just comes out like beautiful. Like there's so many projects you have to do for the classes, and that they kind of do that themselves as well. Wholesale, they'll put teams of students together to work on like certain projects for that month, and it's just so cool what comes out of that, because you're sitting there. It pretty much preps you for the real world in the industry. It's like you don't know who you're going to work with, when you're going to work, what you're going to do, and when it's presented to you, you got to execute. And they really get you get your mindset right for that energy, if you will. There's classes that like this is more in the film department anyway, but there was a few where I had to do it like this too. But like they'll have it to where you have like a lab at like 4 a.m. And then, you'll have a lecture at like 8, because that's the industry for you. There'll be times where, hey, you might get a call at 2 a.m. You got to be on set or something like that, but going off long-winded, that was just my favorite. That was definitely one of my favorite things about Wholesale, was just the energy, how much people wanted to work. And, now, I mean, of course, people collaborate. I collaborate with people too, but it was easier to do it there at Wholesale because you didn't really have to go and reach out too much. Like you can just be standing in the courtyard, talking about something. People are like, hey man, I do this, let's work. And that was really cool.
That's awesome. And did you experience, because I always heard stories like, famous artists and producers, engineers will visit to be like a guest, lecturer or, work example, whatever. Did you experience that also as far as artists or engineers come through?
Yeah. I mean, there was, I didn't meet anybody like, famous as in, the industry. Absolutely. I met like Vic Freer. I met a bunch of, every year they have something called the Wholesale Hall of Fame, where it's pretty much either alumni that are successful in the industry come, or they're able to score like, live engineers, mixing, or studio engineers, or, filmmakers, just like, people that are successful in the industry that more or less, people in the industry would know, like not so much like someone you'd see on like, MTV or something like that. But nonetheless, there was a bunch of really good lectures like that were so beneficial for me and just everybody else.
Once again, oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good, man. Yeah, that was the deal. Like, every year, the Hall of Fame thing. And that was something everybody looked forward to.
And once again, talking to the one and only, man, because I'm telling you, this is dope, man. Don Ugly, a.k.a. KASH ERICKSON. And you have music coming out, man. I mean, I don't want to jump too far down the road, but just to tease the audience a little bit, you're going to come out with a new single later this month, July 30th. And the name of that is Drug Rugs. And and we're going to learn about that one, because I think that it's like you got shock after shock after shock. But before we dive into that, man, when you came up with the idea of your artist name, was that during like a music project in school, or was that off campus? How did you officially decide this is going to be my artist name?
So how I officially decided, once again, I did want something crazy, to stick people's heads, but I went through so much trial and error. Like I had so many different corny ideas beforehand. I just couldn't really bring it to life. But then I thought to myself, I was like, granted, I don't want it to be, too much of a big deal about the name. I do want it some way, shape, or form authentic towards myself. So one day I was just in my room, kind of like having a little writing session with myself. And I busted out like all of my poetry and my lyrics that I've written from that point on. I just kind of like threw it on the floor, kind of like have one of those mad artist moments, I guess. But so I did that, and I like kind of read all of them, and and I looked, kind of put them all together, and I kind of realized that like I like to write a lot, if it's not in story form, or if it's just like regular poetry, but I like to write about like kind of like the ebb and flow of life, like the good, the bad, and the ugly. And then all of that went through my head like that. And when I said the ugly, I just thought Don Ugly. It just came out of nowhere. And then that was it. Like as soon as I thought Don Ugly, it's just like, I was like, that's it, man. Like, that's crazy. You know, it's something that's like, you know, what is that? And I saw it on the marquee, you know, I saw it on my head, you know, and I just ran with it, man. You know, I've had some people, you know, close friends of mine, like starting out, you know, before I started really taking it to the next level, they were like, man, your name's Cash, you know, why don't you just go by Cash? Not ugly, you know, it's like, you know, you're not like, it's like, people are like, don't call yourself ugly, man. I'm like,
that is funny.
That's not what I'm trying to do here, man. I'm just trying to get that to stick in your head, man, and it works.
It's the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's all together. Nah, right. That is so awesome because, I mean, when I first saw, I was like, wait, what? Why? Yeah. And then when I started checking out like your music videos and stuff on YouTube, I'm like, oh, okay, this is dope, man. And that's what it means to be an artist. You be yourself and you create your own like environment for everyone who comes into your world, So you as an artist, I mean, you have this great knowledge because not just the college you went to, but also future collaborations and learning from others. Mm-hmm. What was the process like finding your sound and finding what makes you click?
That was a long process, man. I'll tell you that right now. You know, I'll mention this real quick too. Like, you know, after I graduated Wholesale, I had the opportunity to work in a studio in Orlando, which I reside in Orlando now. I stayed after Wholesale. You know, Jacksonville is my hometown, but Orlando is my city as of now. And anyway, I worked in a studio here, and that's where I really learned things. You know, I mean, Wholesale got me started, but anybody will tell you in any field, you know, you don't learn nothing until you're in the field. So, and that is the truth. But anyway, so, you know, after being in the studio for about a year and a half before it got shut down, unfortunately, due to funds and all that stuff, you know, after I learned those set of tools, it took me like, honestly, until the end of last year to really understand like how to go about mixing, how to go about producing my things, you know, because it's just, there's just so many things you got to consider. Like when you're making a track, like, hey, do you want this to sound analog, and do you want it to be dynamic, or B, do you want it like, you know, top 40 where it's like loud and compressed, you know? And there's just so many things that like I didn't realize that just prep wise have to go into these sessions before you start. And you know, it took me until like last year to really figure it out, man. Like so many just hours in front of my monitor, just EQing it, just figuring it out. And but what really did it for me, man, was you know, before I released my first like actual single, like officially, you know, Hazy Eyes, I was really going for like a hardcore Americana, like Father John Misty type deal. Mm-hmm. But then I was like, I bought this vocal pedal that's like that I use for live shows. It's like a vocal harmonizer, kind of like when you're solo, kind of adds a little flair to your vocals. And then one day I was like, you know what? I'm gonna like just like record with this thing and see what happens. And it also had a loop pedal, by the way, on it, like a guitar loop. And then you know, I made the first loop for Hazy Eyes. I came up with it right then and there and made I sang the first lines, just came to my head. And then like hearing it like that, I realized I was like, hey, this kind of like is something different for me, and maybe I should run with it. And that's when I threw like first time I ever threw an 808 into my music. And I was like, hey, because like it's something, you know, if you listen to Hazy Eyes, it's like it's an acoustic meets 808. I call it like indie bass music. That's what I'm calling it. And it was something completely different for me that like didn't even think I would ever try to do if I wouldn't have bought that pedal. But once I went with that, once I released Hazy Eyes and I mixed it and all that, and figured out that flow, it kind of allowed me to expand my my mental on whereabouts my genre, you know. And I always wanted to be like a multi-genre artist. I know it's really like kind of hard to promote and do, but you know, My second single, Her Majesty's Mambo, which is like I'm chilling on the beach type feel with like a hardcore, like Latin inspired bass line. You know, it's like, granted, it's all like different genres. I feel like they all flow together. And it really just came naturally, man. It really did, like getting it to do that. But it also at the same time, it, like so many just years of trials and tribulations, man. I graduated in 2017 at Wholesale. So 2021, here we are, you know, so you can't rush the process, man. But
and hearing that, I'm just hearing definitely a student mindset, because you're using everything that you learned, not just in college, but also, like you said, nothing really matters until you're in the field. I mean, just so many people who are trying to get in the music industry and do all these things. But when you talked about taking certain genres, like you were talking about Latin and stuff, and using it, like that's the key, would you think, as far as knowing a little bit of history of music and culture? Because it's one thing to sit on a blank canvas computer screen and just randomly make sounds, but it's another situation where you're strategically incorporating different sounds.
Man, it's 100% correct, man. I mean, it's like this. You want to learn the rules so you can break the rules. You know, like know the ins and outs, so you know how to strategically do something different rather than, like you say, like sit there and press knobs and
hope and pray sounds good.
It's the, you know, you got to go with it. Got to go into it with a plan of attack. You know, I learned that too. That's something that I learned after time. You know, I used to be the one that, you know, I would just buy plugins and then just like, oh, I got all these plugins. And,
Magic.
No, it's like you got to learn those plugins, like, you know, because then you realize you don't need that many plugins. You can go with the same. I you know, I have the same master chain for every song I use, and you know, it's just it's so important, you know, to know the ins and outs, and even when it comes to like you know, genre flipping, you know, like taking one aspect of one genre of music and colliding with another. It's all just it's definitely like certain knowledge, but also, you know, being familiar with it. You know, I've been the type of dude, I listen to everything from opera to like death metal, man. Like I listen to everything, rap to like 50s country, man. So, well, like you hop in my car and you let my playlist shuffle, you don't know what you're gonna get, man.
That is awesome, man, because what I'm hearing too is that you're just a person, that individual who's just, you have awareness of your surroundings, and that's major key to success in any field of life. Like you gotta have, like you said before, a plan. And speaking of plan, before time runs out, let's talk about this awesome new music day coming out July 30th. I mean, tell us the name again for those in the back who wasn't paying attention to me, and also the story behind that influence.
Yeah, man. So my next song, it's called Drug Rugs. I did announce July 3rd. Well, I haven't really actually officially announced it yet, but I'm gonna actually push it back 1 week for slight editing. You know, I am so proud. Like, or August 5th is when it's gonna come out.
Okay, awesome.
But so Drug Rugs, you know, as I mentioned, I'm a multi-genre musician. This song is going to be more of a traditional. It's kind of like a psychedelic Americana song. It's got full drums, bass, guitars. You know, kind of like a traditional setup. And the song, I wrote it about three years ago, and you know, if you know, it's not too explicit, but it's a little out there, the meaning to the song. But it's essentially about you know, a few years ago, I had a psychedelic experience in the desert in Taos, New Mexico, and it's kind of like a cathartic moment for me, if you will. And I wrote about it. You know, it's kind of like it's a song about going into the desert and, you know, finding yourself through a psychedelic experience, excuse me. And the reason why I call it Drug Rugs was because on that day, the person I was with was wearing a drug rug, in which a drug rug is kind of like one of those poncho sweaters, if you will, kind of like the Mexican quilt that like goes over your whole body type deal. Some people call them drug rugs. It's kind of like a hippie nickname. But anyway, I thought that name kind of like sounded cool, and it kind of fit the vibe on top of the fact that my friend was wearing that. And like one of the lines is, we all were wearing drug rugs on that day. So I was just like, yeah, man, let's go with drug rugs. And, you know, yeah, that's the story behind that. And once again, it's definitely it's more of like a psychedelic yet like a Americana fast paced deal. And I'm really excited to share it. Every time I play it live on my solo shows, even it gets a lot of hype on it, and it's a fun song. I'm totally excited.
It's the opposite of boring. I mean, yeah, it does not sound boring at all. I mean, that's awesome, man. I mean, when you write songs like that, and I know you're talking about having a plan when you're doing certain things, do you always have a very rigid process, or are you also free flow as far as ideas flowing and, you know, melodies and chords and stuff like that?
It depends really, man. Like there's songs where they came to mind. Normally the songs that I go into, like, okay, I'm gonna write about this, it's more free flowing. But it's either I have my songs written to where like I have a melody with a hook already, or B, it's a like a lick from the guitar or my piano. And if it's a lick from the guitar piano, it's kind of more trial and tribulation. But if it's like a melody that I have with like a line of lyric already, like a hook or something, I'll pretty much write around that hook, and it kind of flows more. And, you know, like I say, you know, I do kind of like, I like to make my songs in like a story form, you know, whether or not it's actually like poetry or if it's like, you know, like word for word story, you know, like, no, like hook. But like Drug Rugs doesn't really have a hook. It's more of like like an ongoing flow, if you will. But anyway, I try to also make it, you know, to things that like maybe like a lot of people like, you know, experience themselves. You know, I know a lot of people they understand like where I'm coming from with those type of moments of catharsis. You know, I'm not going to sit here and like promote like, hey, you know, you need to go and, you know, do psychedelics to like find yourself. But, you know, it's kind of like,
yeah,
it's kind of like a cliche thing for the songwriter, I guess. But nonetheless, it's very relatable in that broad aspect. And I wanted to, I wanted just to portray my side on that take, you know, and, you know, because before that happened to me too, like I was such like in a box, like I didn't know what I wanted to do. You know, I didn't like, I just knew, like I used to DJ back in the day, and that was right when I stopped DJing, because I started DJing to get in the music scene and stuff, and realized like it was the wrong scene I wanted to be in. So, you know, I had to take like a moment out, and I went and traveled to New Mexico and did that. And then, you know, because like I said, I've been playing guitar since I was 7, but I put it down for like 4 years to pursue DJing. And then after I had that moment, I realized, no, I need to stop.
He was like, these records are not cutting it.
Hey, no pun intended.
That's funny.
Yeah. So, but that's what kind of like, you know, made me realize I need to stop and continue writing again. And so like, it's kind of like a kind of a reason why, I guess, you know, I went to Wholesale indirectly, you know, the reason why Gone Ugly was born, because I used to be so scared to do this. I used to be so scared to sing and like put myself out there like that. And after that experience, yeah, man, it took all that away. So I wanted to make a song about that, and you know, and here's Drug Rugs, you know.
Now that is a plot twist. I quit DJing so I can go to school and make better records.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't I got some pretty cool gigs, man. You know, like that's when I used to live in South Florida before I moved to Orlando, and I DJ'd at like Club Space, Club Mecca, which is not there anymore. These are all like big dance clubs in Miami. You know, I used to DJ like EDM and stuff like that. I mean, it was fun. It was more of like a party for me though. And I didn't take it seriously, and it wasn't really what I wanted to be doing. So, you know, I'm happy that I stopped doing it. I'm also happy that I did it. You know, I learned things, but I'm sorry, I'm going long-winded, but
no, it's good. It's details. We like details. It's better than a short answer, yes and no.
True that, yeah, man.
Because if it was yes and no, it'd be a short interview.
True that, man.
But no, all jokes aside, I mean, what you're saying too is important, because it's good to talk about what's underneath the hood of the car, or whatever car parts, because it's one thing that's a nice car, it drives nice, but when you start learning what makes the car drive, the different parts and what the functions are, kind of like you alluded to in the beginning of the interview about versus pressing buttons, actually know what those buttons mean, so that way you're just not the guy that buys all these plugins and all of a sudden you think you're just audio whiz or whatever. It's a little bit different. Learn the fundamentals of the game, and then you might be the one building the plugins yourself.
Yeah, hey, there's money in that too, man. I'm actually interested in. I thought about doing that. It's just there's a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? That's like a whole nother ball game, building plugins. But man, that is something that I would be interested in down the road. But I gotta get my chops up on that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, you master your own songs, and you say earlier in the show, you say you have templates and stuff because that's, your sound. Now, for someone who's like an aspiring producer, right? Real quick, because I know we went longer than we said, but this is like really good information that I think is good for the industry. What are some of the do's and don'ts as someone who's like an upcoming sound engineer, producer, when it comes to mixing and mastering? I know that's a heated debate. But in your humble opinion, because you went to Full Sail and it's a great school, great knowledge, what are some of the do's and don'ts that you believe is true?
You're absolutely right. It is pretty opinionated. I mean, engineers, especially engineers who got their own rep, or they're not really trying to figure out, more or less they're just getting better. Mm-hmm. They always have I'll post something online, this is how I do it, and I always go, oh no, don't do it like that. But it is all, there is certainly, like I said earlier, there's rules to know. So when you know the rules, you can break them.
Yeah.
But if I was to give you a do's and don'ts, definitely it kind of be honestly the only thing I can really think about that can kind of really portray broadly is kind of what I've already mentioned, man. It's don't be the guy that buys crack plugins or just has money that can buy all these different plugins and not know what they do. Take your time to learn about, if I should use a passive EQ or a multi-band, learn about FET compressors, learn about what you're using. So you can sit there, listen to your demo or, the raw mix, and then understand what needs to be done, so you don't just jump in and you spend months on one mix and it still sounds like poop, don't do that, learn your tools, and then it will serve you greatly. Because, once again, I was that kid that was like, hey man, why does my laptop keep telling me CPU overload? I don't get it. Every single channel has 12 plugins. But
that's funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
Your whole project has 50 plugins. Why?
Yeah. And I used to think back in the day, because, I would see mixing with the masters, and I'd see they do use a lot of stuff, but then I realized they route a lot of things to the same, that's really I can get really dirty with it. Long story short, it's once I learned what plugins I liked, how they worked, and what goes with what, was when my flow became, I'm not going to say effortless, because it's definitely not effortless, and I learned something new every day, but it's when I started to really understand and figure it out. And and that's just that's something that I would highly recommend anybody, if you're an aspiring engineer, learn the ins and outs of your gear, man, and learn your tools. And, before you go and make a next purchase on the plugin, really figure out if you really need that investment. Because I have spent some money, man, on some plugins, and some plugins I don't even use anymore. So.
Right. Yeah, sometimes it feels like a bragging contest. Well, did you get this one? And did you get that one? And it's almost like a competitive, you got to get the latest and the greatest,
Right.
And before you know it.
What's really cool about plugins too is, you know, a lot of good companies, they'll let you have a demo of it for like 14 days, and you can even print, like, you know, bounce the waves or MP3s with them too during those demo times. So that's really cool. I mean, that's how you can really get to learn a plugin before before you go make that purchase and stuff like that. So,
and this was really for people who love audio. So for all y'all audio geeks out there, I mean, I am, because I'm in radio, but for all y'all music heads and creative, y'all will appreciate this. I know you will, because what you're saying is so true. Is you got to collect these tools in your toolbox and just work on mastering those tools, because if you go into any project just like without a plan or some kind of inspiration, man, you're going to be there for like months.
Oh yeah. You're going to be like, you're just going to drive yourself crazy, man. I mean, that was me though. That was me. And I had to go through it, you know, and I even feel like if someone was to tell me otherwise, I would have still went through it. I'm not even gonna lie to you. You know, it's something that I feel a lot of people who start mixing, right, you know, at first they want to really just like, oh, let me see what I can do, blah, blah, blah. They're so infatuated by what can be done because they see their peers like making these awesome sounding mixes. And like, you know, when you watch somebody, you know, like, especially if you like, you know, there's like a channel called Mixing with the Masters where like high profile mixing engineers will, like, you'll watch them during a session do what they do and they make it look so effortlessly. And then when you get in there, like, you know, there's just so many things to consider. Like, you know, like, it can sound really good in your room, but you know, your room might not be acoustically treated. So when you go in your car, it's like a horn's honking at you. What's going on? You know, so it's just there's just so many things to learn that it's like something that like you'll have to figure out yourself, man. You know, like I said, if someone was to sit here and tell me what I'm telling, you know, you guys now, like in the beginning, I probably would have still sat there for days trying to, you know, just figure it out. But once you get over that hump, you know, yeah, and if you don't have that hump, man, you're doing it. Like, you're gonna get there much faster, man. Just learn those plugins, learn your tools. It's like any trade, you know, like in any trade, there's tools and you got to learn them, man.
Just what I was about to say too. I was just about to say that this, what you're saying, or principles, I believe it can apply to anybody's career, is basically start with yourself, get yourself better, and then get these right tools that you can learn, and then boom, create your masterpiece. So, man, time has flown. Once again, go to donugly.com. We're talking to Don, a.k.a. KASH ERICKSON, out there in Florida, Orlando, man, representing big time. So I want to say thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to us today. But I'm going to let you have the floor, man. What would you like to tell the audience?
Yeah, no, Shemai, thank you for having me. Like, it was a pleasure, man. And, you know, if for the audience, you know, if you're interested in checking me out, once again, donugly.com. When you go on my website, on the top, if you leave an email address, you can join my fam club, where every week to bi-weekly, I'll write a personal message. It's kind of like it's kind of like my free Patreon, if you will. I give out, you know, I let you guys know, like, personally what's going on with me. I give you out free demos, you know, like, people on my fan club, they already have the Drug Rugs demo. Like, they already know what it's about, and, you know, things like that. So if you guys are interested, sign up for my fan club. You know, there's no spam or nothing like that. You get discounts on my merch and stuff. If you're interested in hearing my music, you know, I'm on Spotify, Apple Music, all that good stuff. Pandora, they won't have me on yet because I don't have enough discography, but they'll get me on there soon.
And last question, because I feel like, if I was listening, right, I was listening to this and I didn't go full sale because it was AKA too expensive for my budget. Disclaimer. What would you say to someone who says, well, shoot, does he do any sessions, consulting, you know, coaching, classes for audio mixing, mastering, or anything like that?
I haven't done that yet, but I'm not opposed to it. If I get an email and someone was wanted to have my advice and my knowledge, I'd be happy to teach. Yeah, absolutely. You know, I tell anybody, if they have any inquiries, just email me on donugly.com or donuglyband@gmail.com, excuse me. And, awesome. Yeah, that'd be something I'd be absolutely interested in. But to be honest, no, I haven't done that yet. I've been the mentor I've been the student for so long. And like I said, it hasn't been up till last December to where I really figured out my flow of things. And Shemai, once again, man, like, I mean, even the top engineers, they're learning every day, you know, like you never do, there's not enough to know, you know, so. But you know, that's something I haven't done. I'd be absolutely interested in doing that. If any of you guys were interested, please shoot me an email. I'd be happy to help.
Well, if you're in the industry, man, and you're trying to learn a little bit more, and you are interested in getting some coaching from him, go to donugly.com. But don't forget, man, check out his single because it's coming soon. I think he said sometime in August, but just follow him because that's the only way you're gonna know the official date, because in the industry, anything can change. So once again, thank you, Don, for being on the show, man, and appreciate your time, man.
Absolutely, Shemai. Thank you so much for having me, buddy.